Hello class, so we've already looked at how to write a good thesis. The reason that I did that is that I want everyone to be on the same page with what a thesis was and the very basic definitions of what teachers are usually looking for when we ask you, hey, write a thesis about this one thing. As it turns out though, there is two specific ways that the AP wants you to be writing theses. This first one here is not too far away from the things that we learned the first time, your baseline thesis, and later on we'll be talking about something that is a little bit more difficult, but either of these are going to help you to get good thesis points on your paper. So if you have a good thesis as it is, you will get the point, but they are looking in sophistication and argument for more than just a good thesis. They're looking for a great thesis. They're looking for this AP thesis or a précis, as we are going to talk about later. You don't have to worry about that word for right now. So if you look and see, once again, I have color-coded it. This is an example of what the AP Rhetorical Analysis thesis should look like. So if you notice, this is specific to the rhetorical analysis. This is only going to be specific to that one single essay that you write. It's not about your AP argumentation thesis or the other essay. This is just for the rhetorical analysis. So we see in her adjective and adverb, then you have the name of the genre and other identifying information, such as when the date of the document was written, because a lot of times the date and the history surrounding it is super important. You have the writer's name, an active verb, the name of the reader or the intended audience, and then through the use of rhetorical devices, remember we are practicing depth of ethos, pathos, and logos to describe the author's purpose. So this is kind of putting all of your soapstone in one sentence here so that I know exactly that you know that you've done the soapstone. And that's not to say that you can't absolutely use elements of the soapstone to be able to write your argument, like that one of your paragraphs, for example, might be specifically talking about the audience, but chances are you'd also be talking about ethos, pathos, or logos when trying to talk about the audience, because it would be hard to argue like, hey, this person is very specific in their audience without talking about how they specifically swayed the audience into one feeling or another. So in general, your soapstone is meant to aid you and help you kind of place you in the right idea for writing an argument, and the rhetorical triangle is the tools which you explain the argument out, if that makes sense. So as an example, we have in her indignantly critical and cleverly crafted. So see how it's not just talking about, and not, I said avoid words like, oh, she has good word choice. This is, or this is a good speech. This person tells you that she is indignant, she is critical, and she is clever. These are all three very specific words where it's hard to, for you to be meaning one thing and for me to be thinking something else when these words are so specific. That is why we like words like this instead of just good or bad, or words that are hard to really pin down the values of. So we have in her indignantly critical and cleverly crafted speech given to the National Association for Women's Suffrage. So right here we have the location and where she did it, Florence Kelly, so we use the name. Clearly articulates and emotionally persuades. So I would imagine if I was going to read this paper, that this first one clearly articulates, we'd probably be talking about diction or maybe syntax. That would be the first point. And then emotionally persuades. So that would obviously be pathos right there. I would expect a lot of talk of pathos. And I know this even though this person never says pathos. I still know that that's what she's talking about. Her audience. So this is pretty cut and dry, just her audience. Sometimes you can be more specific, sometimes you don't need to be. Through the use of parallelism and inclusive language. So this would probably be 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2 with talking about this, like breaking into both of those. I could see a paper going either way with those, but have a better idea of, okay, where is this going? Like, what are these paragraphs going to be talking about, instead of having no idea at all. So even if it's that I think it's going 1, 2, 3, or that it's going 1, 2, and then bringing this in other ways to the 2, I'm like, well, okay, at least I still know where this is going. So through the use of parallelism, so that would be syntax right there, and inclusive language, so that would be diction. So it might be actually parallelism, inclusive language, emotion, 1, 2, 3, but either way, I still have an idea of the things that this person is going to be talking about, even if maybe I don't know the order. And this is okay, because because AP papers tend to be a little bit more nebulous sometimes than the standard English 11 paper. So, to advocate for changes to child labor laws, so that's the reason she's doing it. That's her purpose. Like, so we know, and I know, this is what she was trying to achieve in her speech, and you're kind of talking to what extent does she achieve that through the use of X, Y, and Z. So you guys are going to be reading the 9/11 dispatch. This is not necessarily a speech, but it is, it kind of is. It's what bin Laden told the people that follow him about what they should do before they went and crashed into the towers. So you are going to fill out a soapstone for this, and you're going to annotate it. We were asked to think critically about the push and pull of the connection between the speaker and the audience. And then you're going to take it one step further. After you make a copy, at the very end, after you fill out your soapstone, you are going to try to write a formula from the past 2 slides, the AP Rhetorical Analysis formula, to write a thesis from the bin Laden's dispatch. You can think this to yourself. If we were in class, we'd be talking about this, but why do you think there's a different way in what we write a thesis? I kind of covered this, but it's something to also be thinking about. So I'm specifically looking for a thesis not in the first way we practiced, but in the way that was practiced from the slides above. That is the second part of your homework, and you can just write it on the same document after you fill out your soapstone.